Hey guys, so we are going to work on section 4.3.3, which is talking about percentiles. Okay, percentiles is basically how you kind of compare two different values from the same distribution, right? So we're going to start with number 482. It's talking about ACT scores. Okay, it says nationwide the scores are normally distributed with a mean score of 21, so mean is 21, and the standard deviation is 4.7. Okay. Part A, it says model the scores of all the test takers on your calculator using a normal distribution. An appropriate value for the maximum of the relative frequency is 0.1. Okay. So, open up Desmos. Okay. And we're going to do our normal dist again, right? Normal dist. Put a parenthesis, and then it should bring it up for you, right? We type in the mean, comma, standard deviation. Okay, and then it says our maximum should be about 0.1. So if we do this, it looks something like that, obviously. Looks better than that. But this point at the very top here is 21, 0.085. Okay. It goes all the way up to 36, and then down here to 0. Okay. So you guys will notice that it's a little bit pushed to the right of the center, right? Because the center would actually be 18. Between 0 and 36, but the mean is a little bit more than the actual middle of 0 and 36, right? It makes sense. They do a little bit better than 50%, right? Remember, type or click on the little wrench tool up on top in order to change your x-axis, right? I changed my x's from 0 to 36. Okay, right, it's this little thing here where you have the x in the middle, and then my y's, I went from negative 0.01 to 0.1. Okay, so it's a little bit below the x-axis, but most of it's above the x-axis, right? And that's how I get this picture here. Okay, cool. Part B, it says Adele scores a 25 on the ACT. With your team, explore how well she's done. Remember your normal distribution is a model for the bars of relative frequency histogram. Shade the bars, which is the area under the normal distribution for all the scores below Adele's score. What percentage of scores are below Adele's score? Round to the nearest whole number. So Adele scored about a 25. Okay, and this is part B. And 21's up there, so we're going to say 25 is about here. And so all of these values down here are scores that are below Adele's score. Okay. And the way that we're going to do that is in our Desmos calculator. Our minimum we're going to keep as negative infinity, and our maximum we're going to type in 25. Okay. And so if we do that, you'll see it fills in the shaded area. So the maximum is going to be 25. Right, this is after you click that little CDF box. Okay, click that box and then it'll bring up the minimum and maximum scores. And it says 0.8026. And so if we round that to the nearest whole number, that is the 80th percentile. Okay, so Adele scored in the 80th percentile. That's pretty good. And that's part B. Part C, it says, since 80% of test takers have scored below Adele, you can say Adele scored in the 80th percentile. Remy scores a 16 on the ACT. What is Remy's percentile? Oh, I don't know what happened there, but I think, hopefully, I'm still recording. Remy scored a 16. Okay, so 16. And so our minimum, again, is going to be negative infinity. Our maximum is going to be 16. Okay, and so again, if we type that into Desmos, Remy scores in the 14th percentile. Poor Remy. He's got to do a little more studying. Okay. Sorry, that's supposed to say percentile, but that looks awful. Lastly, part D, it says Antoinette scores a 21 on the ACT. Okay, so Antoinette scores a 21. Without a calculator, make a sketch of the scores below Antoinette's on a normal distribution and indicate what percentile Antoinette's score falls in. So if we have a normal distribution, we already know our mean is 21, right? So if we go straight down from there, all these values to the left are below Antoinette's. But since 21 is our mean, then we can say that Antoinette scored in the 50th percentile, right? Because she's halfway on that normal distribution, and the values on the left is 50%, the values on the right is 50%, so Antoinette scored in the 50th percentile. Okay? Cool. So there's our first problem. And we're only going to do 2 problems today, guys, so hopefully that's not too much for you. Okay? So 483, it says percentiles are not just for normal distributions. They can be used for any set of data to report the percent of scores that fall below a given score. The following data are test scores on Miss Abraha's Chapter 3 test in geometry using the Student E-tool. Okay, explore using the Student E-tool. So we have this geometry test score data. Okay, if you click on the E-tool, it brings up this really long problem in here. Okay, it gives us scores here. It says make a histogram. Hint, replace the numbers in the list below with the numbers above. So you have to highlight these numbers in the number 3 box. Okay, Command C will copy them, and then if you go down to the H with equals the brackets, you have to paste those numbers in that set. Okay, if you paste them in that set, it gives H as a 35 element set, so that means there's 35 scores, which I think that's what it's supposed to be. And then if we scroll down more in number 8 box, okay, it says histogram, parentheses, H, comma 5, or I put in the 5 because we wanted a bin with the 5. Okay, so then I did H, comma 5, and now we have our histogram here. Okay, we need to change our X's and our Y's so we can see everything. Okay, so what I did is I put X went from 10 to 100, and then my Y values, I went from -5 to +15. Okay, we should be able to see everything there. Okay, and so if we let's try and get all of these values in here. So it starts at 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 70, 75, 80. I think I'm going to run out of room. 85, 90, 95. Okay, kind of smush some of those bars in at the end there. Okay, but we got to go all the way up to 95 because that's where our highest bar is. Okay, and so now we're just going to start putting these bars down. So this is 15. That's 20. I'm going to count by tens here. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and then it ends at 95. Okay, so 15 to 20 is only a 1 bar. And then our next one is 40 to 45. Again, there's 1 there. And then from 50 to 55 is another 1. From 55 to 60, there's 3. From 60 to 65, there's 2. From 65 to 70 is another 1. From 70 to 75 is 2. From 75 to 80, it jumps up to 5. From 80 to 85 is 4. From 90 to 85 to 90 is 6. And then 90 to 95, there's 9. Okay. So that's our histogram for today, or for this problem. Sorry. And now we're going to start answering some questions about this histogram, okay? Because this is not normally distributed, right? Normal distribution looks like that, where most of your data is in the middle, right? And then it kind of tails off from the left and the right, okay? And so in part B, that's what it says. It says, Latifah's modeling the data using normal distribution, but her partner Fareed thinks that her idea is not a good one, okay? I would definitely say this is not normally distributed. Okay. This is more of a skewed left, right? Because we have most of our data is up there on the right-hand side, right up here. Almost all of our data is between 75 and 95. But we have all this data coming off to the left here, okay? And so that's why it's skewed left. Okay. Part C, it says Latifah scores an 86%, or an 86 on the test. Fareed scores a 92. What percentile to each score in? This one's a little tougher because our data is not sorted. And so we kind of look at our e-tool to help us. Okay, and there's some points over there where you can like move over to find your maximum and your third quartile and your median, first quartile and minimum. And so we're just going to use those to kind of estimate. All right. So Latifah scored an 86, which our median is 80 and our third quartile is 90. So maybe it's close to like 65th percentile. Right, it's in between those two values, but it's kind of closer to the third quartile. So we're just say Latifah scored in the 65th percentile, and then Fareed scored a 92. And the third quartile is 90, the maximum is 94. And so Fareed probably scored in the 85th percentile, somewhere around there. 85th percentile. Okay, maybe 84th, 83rd. Could be off because we're just kind of guesstimating, but that's close enough. Especially since we can't sort our data. So then D, it says estimate the 25th percentile and the 75th percentile. Well, on our e-tool, we can actually find those values by moving those points around, okay? And so the first quartile, or 25th percentile, is a score of 69. The 75th percentile is a score of 90. Okay, right? That's first quartile, third quartile, 25th percentile, 75th percentile. Those are the same. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so those are percentiles. It's how we compare data within the same normal distribution. We talked about this kind of a lot this whole school year, so we'll revisit this when we see another problem like this. Thanks again, and